Thank you. And thank you for joining us, and well done for taking this step forward to finding your flow. I'm really excited. Tonight is week 7. All you need for this workshop is yourself, an open, curious mind, tissues or a handkerchief, something to write with and on. And it's always good to have a drink too. There is a lot to take in. Please feel free to make notes, use the chat box to ask any questions, and I thank you so much. I'm really excited about tonight. So it's finding our flow, week 7 of the 8-week course, and it's all about stepping out of our BS. As you know, it's not just belief system, it's our bullshit. So we're going to look back at inners. Now, if you remember, as we started, we did core values, then we went on to doing resistance, and we were looking at the resistance we have with our core values, the resistance we have with anything that's coming up. And I know that many of us felt some resistance regards our inner child and our inner parent. So today, I'm going to take this a little bit, maybe not deeper, but I'm going to explain things that might help you put these things in perspective. So it's all about ladies moving to Spain in the waiting room, apparently. Hold on. All good. So, yeah. So this is all about tuning in to what's in us and acknowledging, though, it's an aspect of ourselves, but it's not all us. And we are much more than that. We're much more than that one aspect, because where we are is in the present moment. So here in the world of phenomena thinking, which is the common belief system or bullshit, we are all the same but different. People think we can be healed through science like psychology and physiology. The professions treat symptoms separately as if the mind is disconnected to the body. And in my experience, we are all unique beings. We're totally unique. And where what is in us is completely different to anyone else. And one system alone is not going to gift us what's needed to return us to our true self. So our mind and body are connected with our spirit, and our life experience and journey is totally individual. So our inners are not outside. They're not in our external world. They cannot be compared to our outers. Hold on. Yes, we are one. Exactly, Keith. So our inners cannot be compared to our outers. Everyone is so different. Let me just explain a little bit more. If we've all had totally different upbringings, we've lived in totally different environments, we've had totally different perspective from where we are, you know, even growing up in the same household, we see the world completely different to our siblings. Although we can share some things, they see things different to what we do. So we all end up resulting as complete unique individuals. Some of us are affected more deeper with what goes on in our homes and our lives than others. So our inner child or inner parent is just an aspect of ourself. It's not our complete self by far. And it's by looking at the aspect, this little part of us that can seem really big, that we can see where there's an imbalance, where we're feeling resistance. So whatever shows up for us, we're like, it's resistance. And we can always go back to rain. So how we were as children was largely due to who and how and where and when we were raised. By looking at how we can meet our own needs, I'm going to move that way a bit. So looking at how we can meet our own needs, we can bring back balance to the aspect of ourselves. So life can become free and fun. Our outer parents are not something that we can fix or change. They loved us from their level of consciousness. It's all they knew how to do. So regardless of how balanced that was, They just did what they could with what they knew at the time. You know, we're not the only people that experience suffering. Everyone does. How we develop our own inner parent is completely up to us. We have the power to consciously create the mother and the father aspects of self from a completely blank slate. So there are many ways in which we can consciously create the change. Loving awareness is the most effective way to be able to take a pause and meet ourselves exactly where we are in the moment and look at what is real and what's not really true. When we feel resistance in our lives and we don't know why, but we know we're feeling some form of resistance, we can call on the Ho'oponopono, because we don't need to know the who, the what, the where or why to be able to clean what was there. We don't have to repeat our story. We just need to feel the resistance and give it that time and space by giving it the Ho'opono mantra or some tapping. You know, all you need to do is be aware of what you're feeling. So you recognize you've got some resistance, you're aware of that resistance, and you're going to allow it. You allow that to be so, and then that sorts itself out by I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you. And you can repeat that over and over again. So when we feel resistance in our lives and we don't know why, we can use the Ho'oponopono. Sometimes it's really helpful that when we're dissociating from our bullshit or belief system, where we're all playing the victim in our story, where we are at the mercy of life and become the observer instead, we're able to have mercy for ourselves instead. So instead of being, oh no, woe is me, this is wrong, that's wrong, it's taking our power back. It's becoming the observer and going, I see these things going wrong. How can I be kind to myself in this moment? How can I have some mercy on myself and really turn this round? So with rain, we can observe inner resistance, give ourselves space and time to sit with what is. As the observer or a third person, we're watching the movie, you know. In this way, we find ourselves able to face fears and move into learning and growth zones. So if you remember, we explored our learning and growth zones. So you've got to step out of the comfort zone, sitting with our fears, and it allows us to move forward into a space where we're going to really grow. We can learn so much if we just allow that space to, and everything else kind of sorts itself out. It also helps to see some aspects of the self as separate. So to be able and capable of understanding that it isn't you, but how your thoughts, feelings, and actions are playing out in your life, you can do this using archetypes. I'm going to turn my phone on to do not disturb. Oh, well. So the important thing to notice here is that we need to see some aspects as ourself as separate. So it's not our whole self. It's easy to feel that our inner child is everything because the feeling can seem all encompassing, or even the inner parent. It's like, oh, what the fuck's that? Like, where was my parent and things like that. So it's really important to realize it's an aspect of self, and it really can be adjusted and worked on, and I'm going to show you how. So Carl Jung and our archetypes. There's a pretty cool picture of Carl Jung there. When we turn away from our outer world, we turn inwards and we begin to learn how to recognize our inner self. Some belief systems use a tool called archetypes to name the aspects of persona. This originated from Carl Jung. Carl Jung had studied under Freud, but until they had a disagreement where they could not agree to disagree. And nowadays, people are finding Jung's studies and theories way more accurate and helpful than they find Freud's. But psychology today is based pretty much on Freud. It's only just shifting now. So those who follow these theories, if you like, and studies are called Jungians. A fellow Jungian you may have come across is the amazing Clarice Pinkola Estes, who wrote a book I highly recommend called Women Who Run with Wolves. If you do read it, slow it down, take your time, little bit at a time, okay? There's no need to hammer it because it's just a lot. And when you realize the inner meanings of the different archetypes and things explained in it, it can blow your mind. So you've really got to slow down and go steady with it. So coming away. So the psychologist Carl Jung is commonly considered to have been the first person to coin the term inner child. The divine child archetype is one among many defined by Carl Jung, rejecting the idea that we come into the world as a blank slate. Jung instead believed that individuals have predestined primordial images within their subconscious. Jungian archetypes are manifestations of the collective unconscious, which potentials that are realized when they enter consciousness, so enter your awareness, and they take form as behavior and interaction with the outside world. The archetype is inborn. It's an inborn unconscious driver of our behavior. So we don't realize why we behave like we do, or we don't even maybe notice our behavior at all. But when we start tuning into archetypes, it raises our awareness of self and helps us tune in and find balance to where it is that we're just a little bit off course. So we're going to look at something called the collective unconscious. The collective unconscious is a concept by Carl Jung, and it refers to shared, inherited, unconscious knowledge and experiences from across generations. And it's expressed through universal symbols and archetypes common to all human cultures. The collective unconscious consists of pre-existent forms or archetypes, which can surface in the consciousness in the form of dreams, visions, or feelings. And they're expressed in culture, art, religion, and symbolic experiences. These archetypes are universal symbols and themes that are shared across all human cultures. Some examples of the archetype include the mother, the hero, the child, the wise old man, the trickster, and so on. Each archetype represents an aspect of the human experience. So the collective unconscious is a universal version of the personal unconscious. It holds mental patterns or memory traces, which will be known as data in Ho'oponopono, which is shared with other members of the human species. These ancestral memories, which Jung called archetypes, are represented by universal themes in various cultures as expressed through literature, art, and poetry. Yes, the dreamscape. We're going to get to that shortly. So Jung believed symbols from different cultures are often very similar because they emerged from archetypes shared by the entire human race, which are part of collective unconscious. So this is the unconscious self that's everywhere. You know, everyone's got pretty much the same. The part of us that never born, never dies. So for Jung, our primitive past becomes the basis of the human psyche, directing and influencing present behaviour. Jung claimed to identify a large number of archetypes, but paid real special attention to 4. And he labelled these archetypes the self, the persona, the shadow, and the anima or animus. There's a little diagram here, and it shows that you've got an inner world and an outer world. In our outer world, we've got the consciousness, so our awareness, and it includes our persona, who we think we are, and our ego. In the center, we have ourself. So the center of all things is always the part of us, never born, never died. It's that godlike part of us, that bit of us that is all connected, our true self, when we take away all the data, the piece of I. And in our collective unconscious, we contain the shadow self and our anima and animus, and they're in our inner world. The persona or mask is the outward face that we present to the world. It conceals our real self, and Jung describes it as the conformity archetype. This is the public face or role that a person presents to others as someone different from who we really are, like an actor. The persona, as experienced by Carl Jung, is the aspect of our personality that we present to the world as a means of social adaptation and personal convenience. The term originates from the Greek word for masks that ancient actors used, symbolizing the roles that we play in public. You could think of the persona as the public relations representative of our ego, or the packaging that presents our ego to the outside world. Yeah, out of body experience. In fact, here I've used this little picture at the bottom, and it's a quote from Carl Jung. And it says, one could say, with a little exaggeration, that the persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself as well as others think one is. A well-adapted persona can greatly contribute to our social success. It mirrors our true personality traits and it adapts to different social contexts. However, problems arise when a person overly identifies with persona, unable to differentiate between their professional role and their authentic self. So, as an example, a teacher who continuously treats everyone as if they're students, or someone who is overly authoritative outside their work environment. While this can be frustrating for others, it's more problematic for the individual, as it leads to incomplete realization of full personality. The persona is shaped during childhood, driven by the need to conform to the expectations of parents, teachers, and peers. This usually results in the persona encompassing more socially acceptable traits, while the less desirable ones become part of the shadow, which is another essential part of Jung's personality theory. We're now moving on to the anima or animus. Another archetype is the anima or animus. And the anima and animus is the mirror image of our biological sex. So that is the unconscious feminine side in males and the masculine tendencies in women. Each sex manifests the attitudes and behavior of the others by virtue of centuries of living together. For men, there exists an anima, a feminine inner personality. For women, an animus, which is a masculine inner personality. And these archetypes are derived from both collective ideas of femininity and masculinity, and from individual experiences with the opposite sex, beginning with the person's parents. The anima and animus exist in the unconscious as counterbalances to a person's conscious sexual identity, serving to complement their experience and understanding their own gender. Like the shadow, the anima and animus are often first encountered through projection. For example, the phenomena of love at first sight can be explained as a man projecting his anima onto a woman, or vice versa, which leads to an immediate and intense attraction. Carl Jung acknowledged that the so-called masculine traits like autonomy, separateness, and aggression, and feminine traits like nurturance, relatedness, and empathy were not confined to one gender or superior to the other. Instead, he saw them as parts of a holistic psychological spectrum present in every individual, opposing Freud's predominantly masculine-centric theory. The anima and animus represent our otherness, connecting ego to the broader psyche, thus forming bridges to the unconscious. Engaging with these complexes can enrich an individual's understanding of their gender and of their self. And now we're moving on to the shadow. The shadow archetype, as defined by Carl Jung, encapsulates the parts of ourselves that we reject, disown, or simply don't recognize. Rooted in our personal and collective unconscious, the shadow contains traits that we consciously oppose, often contrasting those presented in our persona, the outward mask we show to the outer world, the world of phenomena. This is the animal side of our personality, a bit like the ID in Freud's. It's the source of both our creative and destructive energies, and it's in line with evolutionary so it's the source of both our creative and destructive energies. In line with evolutionary theory, it may be that Jung's archetypes reflect predispositions that once had value for keeping us alive. The shadow isn't merely negative. It provides depth and balance to our personality, reflecting the principle that every aspect of one's personality has a compensatory counterpart. This is symbolized in the idea where there is light, there must also be shadow. Overemphasis on the persona while neglecting the shadow results in a superficial personality preoccupied with other people's perceptions. There's an image here with another quote by Jung. It says, "To confront a person with his own shadow is to show him his own light." So shadow elements often manifest when we project dislike traits onto others, serving as mirrors to our disowned aspects. Engaging with shadow can be challenging, but it's crucial for a balanced personality. This process, which involves recognizing and integrating dark elements into our conscious self, aids fostering a well-rounded personality. This interplay of the persona and shadow is explored in literature. It's actually Victorian literature. It's the only time in this history of mankind we've seen this come up, and they kind of delved into it in the Victorian era. And it's never really been seen until recently. And I've not come up against anything other than where you look at 50 Shades of Grey, which we'll not get into. But this interplay is explored in this literature, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the picture of Dorian Gray, where the characters have dual natures, which illustrates the compelling nature of this aspect of Jung's theory. Shadow elements often manifest when we project dislike traits onto others, serving as mirrors to our disowned aspects, and engaging with our shadow can be challenging. It's crucial for a balanced personality. This process, which can involve recognizing and integrating dark elements into our conscious self, aids in fostering a well-rounded personality. And now we're going to look at the self. Finally, there is the self, which provides a sense of unity in experience. For Jung, the ultimate aim of every individual is to achieve a state of selfhood, similar to self-actualization. And in this respect, Jung is moving in the direction of a more humanist orientation. So what he's talking about would be also classed as enlightenment, or what the Ho'oponopono is classed as the peace of I. And that was certainly Jung's belief. And in his book, The Undiscovered Self, he argued that many of the problems of modern life are caused by man's progressive alienation from his instinctual foundation. One aspect of this is his views on the significance of the anima and animus. Jung argues these archetypes are products of the collective experience of men and women living together. However, in Western civilization, men are discouraged from living their feminine side and women from expressing their masculine tendencies. For Jung, the result was the full psychological development where both sexes were undetermined. Together with the prevailing patriarchal culture of Western civilization, this has led to the devaluation of feminine qualities altogether, and the predominance of the persona, or the mask, has elevated insincerity to a way of life that goes unquestioned by millions in their everyday life, which actually sucks. So here's a little picture, another quote from Carl Jung. The self is our life's goal, for it is the completest expression of that fateful combination that we call individuality. When we're really in ourselves and tuned in more to ourselves, we find our flow. So we're going to look at meeting our inner archetypes now. So we have our inner child. So in popular psychology, the inner child archetype is akin to an unconscious sub-personality that consists of what a person learned and experienced in the earliest years of their life. Some they might not even remember. This inner child personality is subordinate to the conscious mind and yet influences this mind. The influence manifests negatively if the inner child is traumatized, wounded, or anxious. The role of Jungian psychotherapy is to heal this inner child through a conscious process called reparenting. Psychotherapists assist in patients in recognizing the inner child's trauma and pain by compassionately working with the inner child to teach them new patterns of behavior. The adult becomes free from the compulsion to act upon the whims of the unruly subconscious child. So now we're going to move on to looking at the mother archetype. The mother archetype is a universal pattern or image that is present in collective unconscious of all humans. According to Carl Jung, it represents the concept of nurturing and caring mother, as well as the power and wisdom of the divine feminine. In Jungian psychology, the mother archetype is associated with qualities such as nurturing, love, compassion, and protection. It's depicted in myths, in stories, and religious traditions as a symbol of the feminine principle, representing qualities of fertility, creativity, and abundance. Jung saw the mother archetype as an important aspect of the individuation process, in which the journey towards self-realization and wholeness, the mother archetype can represent the individual's own inner nurturing and caring qualities as well as the influence of their actual mother or other maternal figures in their lives. So it could be someone famous, you know. So, however, Jung also warned that the mother archetype can have a negative aspect, such as the potential for possessiveness, dependency, and enmeshment. In some cases, individuals may struggle to separate themselves from the influence of their mother or establish their own sense of identity. I remember when I was looking at my mother archetype and I thought, like, what the fuck? And I ended up like, it's like, no lie, it sounds proper cheesy, but it worked for me. The fairy godmother in Cinderella in the Disney film, I based it pretty much on that and then went from there. So in psychotherapy, the mother archetype can be an important focus of exploration and healing, particularly for individuals who have experienced difficulties in early relationships with mothers or who struggle with issues related to nurturing and self-care. By exploring the mother archetype, individuals gain insight into the unconscious patterns of behavior and emotions that may be influencing their current relationships and behaviors. In example, in therapy, a client who is struggling with feelings of inadequacy or low self-worth may explore their relationship with their mother and the ways in which their mother's behavior may have contributed to their current feelings. Alternatively, a client who has difficulty with taking care of their own needs may explore ways in which a mother archetype influences their behavior and ways in which they can develop a more integrated relationship with the nurturing aspects of their own psyche. Overall, the mother archetype is an important concept in Jungian psychology, representing a powerful symbol of the feminine principle and qualities of nurturing and care. By understanding and working with this archetype, individuals can gain insight to their own psychological and spiritual development and move towards greater wholeness and self-realization. Moving on to the father now. Carl Jung believed that the father archetype was an important aspect of the male psyche and played a significant role in shaping an individual's personality and behavior. I guess the father archetype's going on over there. According to Jung, the father archetype represents the authority figure, protector and provider, and is closely associated with power, control and responsibility. Right there, Batty is really embodying his father archetype, because as much as Paws is double his size, he's really putting him in his place. And he's doing it with some tough love. He's not being over aggressive, but he's really putting his paws down. Jung believed that the father archetype was present in all individuals, regardless of their relationship with their biological father. The archetype is a fundamental part of the collective unconscious and is shaped by cultural and societal influences. The father archetype plays a key role in the development of an individual's personality, particularly during their childhood. The father figure provides a model for behavior and influences the way that individuals perceive authority and power. Jung suggested that individuals who have had negative experiences with biological fathers may struggle to integrate the father archetype into their personalities, which can lead to difficulties in relationships and other areas of life. Jung also believed the father archetype played a significant role in the process of individuation, as individuals must come to terms with their relationship with the father figure in order to achieve psychological wholeness. The process involves acknowledging the positive and negative aspects of the father archetype and integrating them into one's personality. I used Ram Dass as my father archetype. Even though he wasn't a dad, he He was someone that I looked up to in the outer world and that I felt safe with. So I was able to tune in and relate to that and get things out of there so that I could consciously create my own inner father. In psychotherapy, the father archetype can be an important part and focus of exploration and healing, particularly for individuals who struggle with issues relating to authority, power, or discipline. By exploring the father archetype, individuals can gain insight into the unconscious patterns of behavior and emotions that may be influencing their current relationships and behaviors. For example, a child who's struggling with feelings of rebellion or resistance to authority may explore their relationship with their father and the ways in which the father's behavior or a father figure's behavior may have contributed to their current feelings. Alternatively, a client who has difficulty setting boundaries or taking charge of their own life may explore the ways in which the father archetype influences their behavior. Hold on. So alternatively, a client who has difficulty setting boundaries or taking charge of their own life may explore the ways in which the father figure archetype influences their behavior and the ways in which they can develop a more integrated relationship with masculine qualities of authority and structure. Overall, Jung's theories on the father archetype emphasize the important role that this archetype plays in shaping an individual's personality and behavior. By understanding the influence of the father archetype, individuals can gain a greater sense of self-awareness and achieve greater psychological wholeness. And now we're going to look at the sage. So the sage archetype is a seeker of truth, of wisdom and knowledge. The sage engages in meaningful introspection and self-reflection, and it strives to understand the world and its mysteries. The sage is not satisfied with superficial answers or opinions, but it wants to discover the underlying principles and facts behind everything. The sage archetype is associated with the spiritual aspect of personality, as it represents the quest for enlightenment and transcendence. The sage does not seek material wealth or power, but rather inner growth and development of the self and others. The sage believes the truth will set us free, and that knowledge is the key to happiness and fulfillment. As part of this, the sage shares their wisdom with others and helps them to achieve their goal. The sage archetype is the character that the hero or heroine turns to when they need help overcoming obstacles. This isn't physical help, but knowledge. The knowledge to reach the next step on their journey, or sometimes the inspiration to find the knowledge within themselves. The sage archetype can be a god or a goddess, a wizard or a magician, like Merlin, a philosopher, but they can also be a contemporary exemplar of that type of character, like a teacher or professor, a CEO or mentor, or a wise grandparent. The sage has knowledge and wisdom, sometimes vast, sometimes based on the decades of experience and common sense, and uses this to help the heroine or hero find their way. The sage archetype often has a vast power, but knows not to use it for their own benefit alone. The sage archetype holds an important position in their daily role, but despite this, they don't seek the spotlight. The sage is often a loner, sometimes a hermit, and it loves knowledge more than people. However, the sage archetype also knows when it's time to cast aside books and help those in need. The sage is generally an old character. Carl Jung called the sage archetype the senex, which is the Latin word for old man. The wise old man or wise old woman. This person has accrued wisdom through time and experience. And the sage archetype exemplifies the knowledge that comes from patience and worldliness, from learning from their own mistakes. Knowledge is power, and the sage often benefits from soft power, the ability to co-opt rather than coerce. Because of their vast wisdom, people look up to the sage, respect them, and fear them. Now we're going to look at balancing your inners. So ego, or our persona, is our inner voice, which is a culmination of our vulnerable self, which is our inner child, and our critical self, which is our inner parent. And I'm sure you know, we are our own worst critics. The battle between our inner child and inner parent is so fierce that not much else gets a look in. The inner guilt, shame, blame, and I put guilt twice, I don't know why, can create an inner prison. This causes us a huge range of emotions, which can, amongst many things, develop into depression. Depression is a depression of thoughts caused by the belief, the feeling and realization that we're not seen, heard, or understood. It takes our wisest, highest self to bring us back into balance. And to do this, we need to tune in to loving awareness. Bringing back balance always needs us to reset our parasympathetic excuse me. Bringing back balance always needs us to reset our parasympathetic nervous system so we can stop getting caught up in our head space or inner adult, or heart space, which is our inner child. That way we can tune in to our intuitive guidance or our inner sage. We also call it our inner GPS, it's our inner sat nav. So please take a moment to get comfortable somewhere that you're free from distractions if you can. And allow yourself to relax into the moment. Allowing yourself to relax into this moment. Feel your body sinking comfortably into position. Closing your eyes now and allow yourself to breathe. Breathe in naturally. Concentrate on the rise and the fall of your chest. Imagine fluffy clouds drifting across a blue sky. The blue sky is your mind, and those clouds are symbolic of any distractions in your life. Any noises come along, any thoughts come to mind, don't worry. Acknowledge these thoughts and let them join the clouds and watch as they slowly drift away. Bring your focus back to your breathing now. With each inhale, feel the cool air entering your body, bringing your attention to tensions and lightness in the upper body. As you exhale, open your mouth slightly and relax the jaw. Allow the breath to release out the tensions that you can feel from your neck, shoulders, and chest. Recognizing your body, feeling your body, and say to yourself, my body is my best friend. It has been with me from before I was born. It is still here with me now. And I look at my body with compassion, and I'm grateful for all that it does for me. I'm grateful for all the pleasure that my body enables me to feel. I'm grateful for my senses and the ability to see the beauty in the world, to hear sounds of nature, to feel love for others, to smell the aromas in life. for enjoying tasting the many flavors of food and drink. I am grateful for all the feelings, even the feelings of numbness, pain, and sadness, because that is my body's way of alerting me to things that need attention and reminding me to slow down and create space. And now feel wishes for well-being begin to arise inside your body. And hear your inner sage say, I am worthy of having the strength, resources, and social support that I need to navigate the difficulties in life with ease. I deserve to be free from pain and suffering. I deserve to be peaceful and be happy. I deserve to be loved because I am important.
I'm important.
And when you pause and practice the loving awareness, you can become the observer, and this will enable you to observe the sensations and the thoughts. Remember, thoughts are powerful. They create feelings and emotions, and by observing inner dialogue, you will always be able to witness when you are meeting yourself with kindness and when you are being your own judge, jury, and executioner. Returning the balance to establishing what thoughts you can change by looking at what is real and what is true. Noticing which archetype is at play and see what is needed to bring the archetype back into alignment. So if you now just take a moment, dropping back into the body, back into the breath, back into the room, and being present. You may find that working with your inner sage is a real cool place to start, a lot more gentle. And as you work on that aspect of yourself, the rest naturally finds a new balance. So we're going to look at identifying unconscious patterns now. So I'm just going to give you a moment and I'm just going to do a check on Betty and the chick. Won't be a sec. Back in a minute. Okay. All's good. So we're now going to look at identifying unconscious patterns. Remember that unconscious isn't something we're aware of. And by making ourselves aware of it, then it's something that we can look at. We're not to blame for unconscious anything. There is a huge unconscious game at play in society today on internal and external levels. And when played subconsciously, no one is to blame. It's simply that we are on autopilot and not even aware it's happening. So no one's to fault. It's just what is. And only by bringing things conscious are we able to adjust that. So by becoming aware of the pattern that we make the game conscious. As soon as we're aware, then we're capable of stepping out of the game and taking our power back. So through loving awareness, which we've been doing, we're able to recognize things and we're able to empower ourselves by seeing things and working on our resistance and seeing what else comes up. Psychologist Stephen Cartman came up with a theory that in human relationships that lack authenticity, you'll often see mechanisms that he called control games. Part of those games involves the idea that people basically adopting three roles or attitudes, which are the victim, the persecutor, and the saviour. This is called the drama triangle. And before you start to overanalyze your life, remember this only goes for relationships that lack authenticity. It's quite interesting actually to feel into things thinking, no, that's an authentic relationship. I think pretty much most relationships lack authenticity. But be mindful before you go crazy doing the drama triangle. There is no bond based in truth. It's entirely the opposite in the drama triangle. Everyone involved is playing their own control game. Each one of the roles in the triangle has some basic defining characteristics. In other words, a victim, persecutor, or rescuer tends to behave in roughly the same way as anyone else in a similar role. It doesn't necessarily mean people can't swap between roles, because they often begin in one and then end up in another. The triangle really simplifies how we all affect one another mentally, and why so many of us experience feeling powerless, helpless, and stuck. So let's explore the drama triangle. So here we've got a picture of the three roles of the Cartman's drama triangle. And first, on the top left, we have the persecutor. It's saying, it's your fault. So in this mode, the person doesn't value other people's views or integrity. They're angry, openly and passively angry. They're aggressive, the judgmental, the bully, the demanding, the spiteful, and the scornful. The rescuer is always wanting to help from their own perspective. I am going to help you. I can fix this. I'll put this right. And in this mode, the person doesn't value other people's capacity to help themselves. They appear self-sacrificing, over helpful, and facilitative, and they like to be needed, prone to meddling unnecessarily, and engulfing. And the final of the three is the victim. And they've got a save me mentality. In this role, the person doesn't value the self, and they defer to others. They're always blaming everyone. They're manipulative. They've got this poor me, pity me, woe is me syndrome. They're helpless. They're needy. They complain and whinge a lot. They're fretful. They're downtrodden, and they're blaming others. So the victim, the people who play the role as victims in this context, are those who take an attitude of helplessness. They don't know things, they can't do things, they can't achieve things. They always want other people to help and support them, but never stop complaining about the situation. People in this role put their responsibilities on other people's shoulders. So what is a victim mentality? Someone with a victim mentality will genuinely believe they're powerless in their own lives. They blame others for any adversities they encounter. They feel that no matter what, they will always encounter bad luck. And the mindset can be incredibly frustrating for loved ones and negatively impact someone's day-to-day functioning. Signs of the victim mentality are stating that people are better off without them, dramatizing insignificant events, learned helplessness, fixation on negative events or trauma, lack of empathy, low self-esteem, needing excessive attention, blaming others for actions, being easily angered, irritated, or agitated, and they have severe self-pity. We're now going to look at persecutor. The persecutor is the person who keeps to themselves on the outside of any situation. But that's how actually it can seem. But what defines a persecutor is they're judging others with extreme severity. They point out everyone else's mistakes and they enjoy the emotional distress that they cause other people. It's common to see others as persecutors. But the truth is, we all slip into the persecutor role from time to time. Whether we wish to admit it or not, it is one of the ways that we humans try to control uncomfortable situations. Remember, it's easier to identify the prosecutor role in others than it is in ourselves. By becoming more familiar with these faces, hopefully you can catch yourself and shift to a more constructive way of relating. Here are just a few examples of the faces that are observed and how others are affected. So if you're the sergeant, you're micromanaging with my way or the highway mentality. Co-workers and family members fear making a mistake and they stop thinking for themselves. The opportunities for innovation or new ideas are limited for fear they're going to run head on into the sergeant's strong opinion of right and wrong thinking. The critic uses their cranky and critical mood to control family or work environments. Others walk on eggshells to avoid setting them off, and control is gained because others spend a lot of time and energy paying attention to their criticism. The silent one. They use silence to control and punish by withdrawing and cutting off interaction to control the situation and other people. This creates powerlessness in others as they try to figure out how to react to the silent treatment. The manipulator may schmooze and relate to others to win their influence. Their motivation is questionable and they may work hidden agendas. They befriend those who serve their agenda and shun those who don't, creating suspicion and distrust. The cynic uses misplaced humour and sarcasm as a way of subtly belittling, staying one up, and this may leave others confused and bewildered on how to react, and they often see through the inauthenticity of the satire. So whatever the face, when you live inside the persecutor role, there's a strong desire to control and manage the situation. And very importantly, these are roles we and other people play when uncomfortable with the situation. This is not who we are as creators. And now we're going to look at the rescuer. It's also known as the martyr or saviour. These are the people in the drama triangle who take other people's responsibilities, carry the problems on their own shoulders, but the help they offer is not authentic. So they want to serve, but from their own their own perspective. They want help their way without actually knowing what's going on. It doesn't help the other person grow. It causes codependence. It leads the person to become really dependent because that person's fixing and saving, so the other person just doesn't get a chance to learn their lesson. And that's really sad. The saviour complex is defined by the constant need to try and save people solving their problems. And you can have this syndrome if you feel attracted by vulnerable individuals and you try to change others as you believe that you know what is better than for them. These three roles are part of Cartman's drama triangle. It's a triangle because all 3 points, victim, persecutor, and rescuer, have an inseparable bond. They cannot exist without each other. In some cases, people even move on to a new role, and the victim can become the persecutor, persecutor becomes the saviour becomes the persecutor, and so on in never-ending cycles. That's what makes it so important to become aware and break out of the structure, because if you feel you've been caught up in them, figure out your role and figure out how to take steps to grow out of it. So by making the unconscious conscious, by becoming aware of the roles and how you're playing your part, you take responsibility for your thoughts, your words and deeds, and you change the game. We can learn to identify our part in the movie and the play by practicing loving awareness. because that way we're meeting ourselves and others with compassion, without judgment or criticism. And we can consciously change our roles then. Reconnecting to our dreams and desires, taking action towards outcomes requires a shift in mindset for most people. So when shifts happen and you move into a conscious creator or challenger or coach role, greater awareness and options become available to you. So here is an image of the drama triangle, and it's in blue at the bottom. And you can see it's anxiety-based and problem-focused, with the persecutor, rescuer, and victim all interacting together. And above this, you can see how with passion-based outcomes being focused, you can turn these roles into the challenger, the coach, and the creator. And you can look this up by checking out a video on TED Talks called The Empowerment Dynamic. So the creator, the role of creator, is the alternative to the drama triangle role of victim. Instead of being a victim, we become the creator or author of our experience. In this place, we accept vulnerability. We recognize sometimes we need help, and we ask those who really can help as openly and honestly as possible. We don't try to recruit people trying to save us or to save us, and we don't blame others for creating the situation that we're in. As creators, we own the power to choose, to respond and focus on our outcomes. We can tap into an inner state of passion, directed by our intention, and a creator's focused on a desired outcome, propelling the person to take baby steps towards what they want to create. A creator owns their ability to choose their response to life circumstances. And now we're going to look at the challenger. The role of challenger is the alternative to the role of persecutor. In this role, we tell the truth to others and ourselves as honestly as possible. We offer clear feedback and we ask for what we want without making others wrong. We strive towards non-violent communication and accept responsibility for our part in any situation, while encouraging growth and learning in others. Focused on learning and growth, holding a creator accountable while encouraging learning, action, and the next steps. A challenger consciously builds each other up, or the others up, as a positive alternative to putting someone down by criticizing, blame, or control. And moving on to coach now. A coach provides encouragement and support instead of rescuing. You're not trying to save anyone. The role of coach is alternative to the role of rescuer. We're taking responsibility for any part that we play in the dynamic. We emphasize caring and concern without enabling or trying to fix the person or situation. We remain neutral. We refuse to take sides. We ask questions and we work to create clarity for the situation to help a creator develop a vision and action plan. Regardless of how you decide to accept full responsibility for your actions, practice RAIN. The following RAIN practice will move into the drama dynamics, which reveals the unconscious and often unspoken frustrations of the team or the people involved. When you move away from feeling powerless and blaming others to the place of focusing on what it is that you truly want, you can take powerful steps. One of the ultimate positive steps is to move from believing that you have no choice or responsibility to the situation to accepting your thoughts and actions create their reality. Hence, you're ultimately responsible for everything you experience in your life. Remember the universal law of psychic cause and effect. This shift in perception is so profound, it can literally move you completely off the drama triangle. And in short, you must simply stop what you're thinking and doing, shifting your focus to one of taking total responsibility for creating everything you're experiencing in your life. We all know how to do rain, but rather than have this as a meditation, we're having it as a contemplation. So you disengage. So I want you to contemplate a situation going on. And the first thing you do is you disengage from the situation. You take a pause and practice the rain, but as a contemplation. So recognizing that you're taking part in the drama triangle, allow yourself to be and observe what's going on without judgment. You're investigating, what part am I playing in all this? Why am I creating this? How am I creating this? In what ways am I still participating in this triangle? Am I a helpless victim, or am I somehow consciously or unconsciously creating this? And then you're moving into looking at how to nurture yourself through it, which is, what is it that I really want, need, or desire for myself and from others? What can I do to consciously create change here? How can I take compassionate action to create something more harmonious and more balanced? Nurture what you can do right now for yourself that will be positive, kind, gentle, nurturing, and supportive. Look at what goals and dreams and objectives you would like to achieve, and in what time frame you'd like to achieve them. Contemplate what are the positive things in your life that you are grateful for. And after the rain contemplation, journal, make notes, ask, decide, choose, what are the most important actions that I can take right now to start my life moving in a more positive direction? Take positive action and start moving right now. Remember to keep your focus on where you would like to go and who you would like to become, not where you have been. Are you coming up, Tilly? Come on then. So the drama triangle by Steve Cartman evolved from Byrne's transactional analysis. Cartman was a student of Byrne. Cartman believed that a variation of the inner adult child was commonly in a drama triangle consisting of victim, persecutor, and rescuer. By understanding how it works with others, you are now better equipped to identify the game when you play in it internally. If you constantly criticize and judge yourself, you are your own persecutor. If you use destructive habits to self-soothe, you indulge behaviors like overeating, over drinking, or anything that helps you avoiding real issues at hand, you are your rescuer. And if you find yourself constantly whining or complaining while repeatedly blaming others for your problems, you make yourself your own victim. Most of the problems that arise from this internal drama triangle are, I know, Tilly, are attempts to avoid taking personal responsibility for own thoughts, emotions, and actions. Let's press this next page. When you notice an internal battle, ask yourself, what am I getting from this triangle or situation? And how am I avoiding responsibility? So how is it that I'm avoiding taking responsibility for ourselves? And you might remember this image from last week, but it's changed a little bit. So on our left, we've got rescuer, persecutor, and victim. and that's the drama triangle. And on our right, we've got our creator, challenger, and coach. Our inner sage can coach ourselves back into alignment through loving awareness. Nurturing our vulnerable self, which is our inner child, so we can live life consciously creating change. A funny window, Till. Learning to recognize how the triangle occurs in our internal and external life with family, friends, associates, even the government, increases our own empowerment and self-awareness. We are far more than any roles that we play. Much better to instead realize that we're living in a co-creative world where we can choose behaviors that allow us to live a life that is fulfilled, at peace and happy. Or we can pick a drama-filled life that happens to us rather than through us. We have the power and can consciously make the change. So we're now going to look at reconnecting and working with our inners. You're all right, Till. But I'm just going to give you a little break and nip over and check the chicken and Betty and the baby and move Tilly. So I'll be 2 minutes. Come on, Tilly. So reconnecting and working with our inners. Our inner child work can be handled on our own, but it's ill-advised sometimes because some of the memories and their accompanying emotions can be quite disturbing. However, not all emotions are harvested through inner child work that are traumatic. This is because the inner child holds joy, innocence, and confidence that was yours at birth. And I've got a little quote here from Gabor Mate. Trauma isn't what happens to you. Trauma is what happens inside you as a result of what happens to you. So if something's happening to you, the result of that is the trauma. The trauma isn't the event. The fact that we survived means there is wisdom to be found in our trauma. Gabor Mate. And the essence of trauma is a disconnect from the self. So therefore, the essence of healing is not just uncovering one's past, but reconnecting with oneself in the present moment, which is why we always just try and return to center. It's why we practice rain or Ho'oponopono, tapping. All these things are guides to help you always have a tool that you can go to where you can return to center. Inner child work involves self-discovery of all emotions and memories one is forced to repress. The idea of inner child work is to get into contact with, listen to, and nurture your inner child or children to find and heal the issues that one may be facing in your adult life. Trauma in childhood leaves children filled with shame. This forces inner children to hide experiences and their accompanying emotions to survive. They're forced to do so because as children, we are forced to live with and depend upon our caregivers. To admit as children to oneself that our caregivers will not and do not take care of us, or worse, harm us, is akin to emotional suicide. So inner children learn to hide their feelings of rejection, their experiences of abuse, and fear of abandonment that they keep inside. Unfortunately, when we repress these intense emotions, adults find themselves stuck in cycles of self-sabotage. Trauma in childhood robs us of the knowledge and ability to successfully move forward in our lives as adults. Yes, repressed events and emotions that occurred with childhood trauma are horrific, but they do not go away on their own. Sometimes you just need to take the memories out, look truthfully at them, and work through them to resolve them once and for all. I also need to say that sometimes you don't have to look at the actual memories or anything. Sometimes it's done through somatics, through sensations in the body. Sometimes it's done through artwork, and you're just doing something, and then that is, and then you recognize it, and that's it. You know, it doesn't have to, trauma work doesn't have to be traumatic. So it can seem counterintuitive to examine what happened to us because those memories are painful. And if not done correctly, inner child work can leave a person re-traumatized and struggling. However, if contact is established with an inner child precisely, healing does begin. To ignore the memories and emotions that we suffered in childhood is to force ourselves to live in the pain of the past. While we may not feel this pain in our conscious awareness, it haunts our decisions and relationships all of our lives. Once contacted and helped, the inner child will release not only bad emotions, but all the attitudes and hidden gifts that you will suddenly have found that they become apparent. Relationships improve, addictions ease, and we experience a deepening connection with who we are and what we want. Positive affirmations which support your inner child. So I am worthy of respect. So I'd like you to all join with me now and say them out loud. If you're not happy being on the recording, saying them out loud, mute your microphone. If you're happy to say it out loud, please do. So I'd like you to read out these positive affirmations to support your inner child. So I am worthy of respect. I am worthy of dignity. I am worthy of love. And say this like you mean it. And if you can't, just say it. I do have a place in the world.
No. No.
I am opening my heart.
Opening my heart to trust again.
No one can take my truth away from me. It is okay not to be okay.
Okay. Oh, leave them alone. They're horses. They're not doggies. Stop it.
My emotions are legitimate.
My emotions are legitimate.
I will allow myself to be happy today.
Happy every day. Today.
And every day, in every way, I am healing.
Leave the horses. They're just playing. No.
Patty. It's my dog's turn now. So we're going to read them out one more time, just because we can. I am worthy of respect.
I am worthy of respect.
I am worthy of dignity.
I am worthy of dignity.
I am worthy of love. I am worthy of love. I do have a place in this world. I am opening my heart to trust again. No one can take my truth from me. It is okay not to be okay. My emotions are legitimate. I will allow myself to be happy today. And every day, in every way, I am healing. And now we're moving on to our inner parent. Some children live in environments where their parents are unavailable, either physically or emotionally. In some cases, with the development of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, children are harmed by those who were supposed to protect and guard them. In fact, the following quote is valid. The term reparenting designates a therapeutic operation by means the patient is offered a new parental figure with positive characteristics. These inner children need reparenting. Adults can't return to their childhood and begin again. So basically, reparenting means giving yourself what you did not receive in childhood from the original parents. Reparenting or parenting, you know, sometimes we have like surrogate parents and stuff. Reparenting involves learning to give your inner child all the love, respect and dignity they deserved when they were young. Sometimes survivors do not like the notion, the idea that someone else cannot reparent them. They balk at the knowledge that no one else can do the job but themselves. And while it may not be what we want as adults, learning to become our own parent is the only option to overcome bad parenting that we received in the past. It's from experience, creating my own parents was one of, I was dreading it. Creating my own parents really changed my life and my perspective, and I was dreading it. And when I did it, it was a really fun experience. Do you know what I mean? I didn't even have to look at my actual parents or being brought up. Elsa, shh. Go see. Go on. Go on. Away. Yeah. Hello. So sometimes survivors don't like the notion that someone else can reparent them. So while it's not what we want, when we learn to be our own parent, we really can overcome what happened in the past. We rewrite our story, and it's absolutely bizarre. Like that moment when I first held space for myself. I didn't realize it was possible. I'm crying because I'm proud of myself. And I know how hard it is to do that and to face the fears and to get the courage to go where you've never been before. But when you do it, like the impact and the fun, which I wasn't expecting, just totally blew my mind, blew my world, and helped me become more balanced. Obviously, I ain't perfect, but what we can achieve, what we have the power to do, even on our own, like it changes your life. You've all made changes already. You've all been parenting yourself to some extent to get to where you have today, to get yourself through this. And you should be proud of yourselves. Week 7, and you're here and you're showing up and you show up and you watch the videos and you apply the stuff in your life and you've been experiencing changes. That takes so much courage. That is the step that takes you from victim mentality into being a conscious creator. So it may seem counterintuitive to think an adult can be reparented by someone other. Let's see if that is the same as that. Yeah. So it may seem counterintuitive to think that an adult can be reparented by someone other than the original parents. Many survivors fall into the trap of wanting their original parents to finish the job, and they hold resentment towards them because they can't. Like the phrase that I shared today, a person can only love from their own level of consciousness. You know, we've all got our traumas. When we're working from our level of awareness, whatever that looks like, that's the best that we can do at the time. And it was the same for our parents. They might be absolutely fucking shite, but they tried in some weird fucked up way. They tried, and they were loving from their level of consciousness because their heart was so armored they weren't able to show up, you know. So at the beginning of a form of treatment like reparenting, a form of transactional analysis will occur when a therapist assumes the role of a parental figure. It can be done this way. There's other ways to do it too. But the therapist begins to teach their client various life skills that can aid a child in the now, who is now an adult, to live life productively in the real world. Reparenting must be carried out carefully by the therapist so that eventually the reins can be turned over to the adult, who must then carry on the lessons on their own. To be clear, this is supposed to be what happened initially, but the original parents were too damaged or self-involved to carry out these actions. After instilling into their client lessons that they can, the therapist backs off and instead helps the adult to attempt by trial and error to live successfully. The therapist needs to be vigilant that their client does not come entirely dependent on them. The idea is for the adult to grow into their own parent, not for the therapist to become a forever parent to the child. So this is not, you know, you get all these crazy inner child therapists who want to come and fix and save you. They haven't done the work on themselves and they cause all sorts of issues. Whereas you find a therapist who's done the work, who can able to hold space for themselves and others, that is where you really can, because the person holding space for you is empowering you. They're teaching you how to do it yourself. It's not about getting you to depend on them. It's getting you to find ways to heal yourself, things that resonate for you, that work for you. So the therapist needs to be vigilant that their client does not become entirely dependent on them. Growing into your own parent is, well, it's a hell of a journey. So I want to share about self-reparenting. And it's a form of self-parenting that's the most popular of the reparenting methods used today. I don't agree with the other three, so I'm sharing this one. Self-reparenting was developed by Muriel James, involved not replacing the parent ego state, but confirming positive aspects already present in survivor's ego. Instead of therapy being reliant on therapist to be the parent, instead the survivor is the primary agent. So instead of the therapist being the parent, they're getting them to be their own parent. This form of self-parenting is incredibly powerful. It's incredibly powerful, and it allows the person to learn from the therapist and be their own agent in the recovery. So you're empowering the person to do what they need to do to grow. So they learn to love, respect, and care about themselves the way they should have been taught by the parents of origin. The rain meditation, the inner child meditation, that helps you nurture yourself. That helps you hold yourself. It helps you be your inner parent and also come to some kind of way. But sometimes our resistance that we sense in the first place stops us being able to feel into that and experience that. So giving yourself what you did not receive as a child, there is no substitute for good parenting. But if you did not receive what you needed in childhood, it is never too late to begin anew by reparenting yourself. Reparenting yourself allows you to give yourself love, respect, and dignity that you didn't receive. As your own parent, you spend time enjoying your years on the planet Earth because you feel stable, happy, and able. So take time to listen to how you speak to yourself. Do you talk negatively? Do you call yourself names that you heard when you were a kid? Do you tell yourself that you are good and worthwhile? At first, it can seem awkward, self-parenting, but with practice, you not only contact your inner wounded child, but heal the scars that are existing deep down in your psyche. There's a few tips here to reparenting yourself. So use positive affirmations such as I am a good person. Talk to your adult self and ask for aid in grown-up decisions. Give rewards to yourself every day. Get plenty of sleep. Write in a reparenting notebook a daily to-do list. Celebrate when you've completed the tasks. Practice mindfulness to remain present. Tell yourself that you love you, even if it feels awkward. Think about the good memories that you had in childhood and make new good memories and traditions. There's some reparenting affirmations that I'd like you to repeat after me, please. So I am so glad that you were born. You are a good person. I love who you are, and I'm doing my best to always be on your side. You can come to me whenever you're feeling hurt or bad. You do not have to be perfect to get love or protection. All your feelings are okay with me. I am always glad to see you. It's okay for you to be angry, and I won't let you hurt yourself or others when you are. You can make mistakes. They are your teachers. Gives you a chance to mistake. You can go again. You can know what you need and ask for help. You can have your own preferences and tastes. You're a delight to my eyes. You can choose your own values. You can pick your own friends, and you don't have to like everyone. And you can sometimes feel confused and ambivalent and know that you don't know all the answers. I am genuinely very proud of you. I'm going to read it one more time. So I am so glad that you were born. You are a good person. I love who you are, and I'm doing my best to always be on your side. You can come to me whenever you're feeling hurt or bad. You do not have to be perfect to get my love and protection. All your feelings are okay with me. I am always glad to see you. It's okay for you to be angry, and I won't let you hurt yourself or others when you are. You can make mistakes because they are your teachers. You can know what you need and ask for help. You can have your own preferences and tastes. You are a delight to my eyes. You choose your own values. You can pick your own friends, and you don't have to like everyone. You can sometimes feel confused and ambivalent and not know all the answers. I am really, genuinely very proud of you. By reparenting yourself, you will have a powerful ally who will always stick with you through thick and thin, yourself. You can defeat all negative tapes placed in your mind by poor parenting. By doing so, you will find that being your own parent is powerful and life-altering. Your relationship with your inner child is the most important relationship of all relationships on the planet. By consciously bringing together your heart and head, your heart will expand and you will find your balance. And your whole being will be filled with peace and love. And before we close, I'm going to invite you to take part in a meditation. So please take a moment to pause and get comfortable. As I notice this feeling or these feelings of discomfort, I breathe in, I pause, and I breathe out. And I know that this discomfort is not me. I breathe in, I pause, and I breathe out. This discomfort has come as a friend. I breathe in, I pause, I breathe out. This discomfort is bringing something to my attention, and I breathe in, I pause, I breathe out. I will investigate this peacefully. I breathe in, I pause, I breathe out. And in time, its reason for being shall make itself known. I breathe in, I pause, and I breathe out. Until then, I let go of self-judgment. I breathe in, I pause, I breathe out. And I know that this too shall pass. I breathe in, I pause, I breathe out. Right now, I know that I'm safe. I breathe in, I pause, I breathe out. I breathe in, I pause. And as I exhale, you want to open your mouth slightly, relaxing your jaw, allowing the breath to release out tensions that you can feel from your neck and shoulders, body and chest. Recognizing your body, feel your body and say to yourself, my body is my best friend. It's been with me from before I was born. It's still here with me now. I look at my body with compassion and I'm grateful for all that it does for me. I'm grateful for all the pleasure that my body enables me to feel. I'm grateful for my senses, for the ability to see the beauty in the world, to hear sounds of nature, to feel love for others, to smell the aromas in life, for enjoying and tasting many flavors of food and drink. I'm grateful for all the feelings, even the feeling of pain and sadness, because that is my body's way of alerting me to things that need attention and reminding me to slow down. Taking a moment now, feeling well wishes for well-being to begin to arise inside your body and fill your body. Know that you are worthy of having the strength, resources, and social support that you need to navigate all difficulties in life with ease. You deserve to be free from pain and suffering. You deserve to be peaceful and happy. You deserve to be loved because you are important. Taking a moment and coming back into the room whenever you're ready. Today, you have learnt more about reconnecting to your inner selves and how you can drop out of drama and take your power back. So thank you. I love you. And now it's question time. So if anyone's got any questions or anything they'd like to share.